So, hi everyone, welcome to my channel today. I'd love to introduce you today to my dear teacher and friend, Lotte Mikkelsen. Hello, Lotte. Hello, how are you?
Great to be here. Thanks for inviting me and asking me to come here and join
the pleasure's mine.
I think it's mine.
Let's not get into that. Right, so Lotte, you've been teaching laughter yoga for over 22 years and you became a laughter yoga master trainer. Congratulations.
Thank you. I know, I love it. I started teaching, running workshops back in 2003, started teaching other people to go and run workshops in 2007, and then 5 years later in 12 I was done with my laughter yoga master training. And it was a real privilege. So my first experience with laughter yoga was in 2000 when a friend of mine organized World Laughter Day in Copenhagen. It was the first time laughter yoga, World Laughter Day was celebrated outside of India. And I went to the event in Copenhagen that my friend Jan was organizing. And I thought, do you know what? I can do this. It's a Sunday. I can take the family. No work to think about. And I'll just go and support his little event. When I came into the center of Copenhagen, it was almost 10,000 people together just to laugh and do this exercise. And it was weird and wonderful. And it was completely sold to me back then. I thought, this is what I'm meant to do with my life. I'm going to share laughter.
Yeah.
So that was in 2000. And then in 2001, I moved to the UK and still thinking, this is what I want to do. But back then, the training wasn't as structured as it is today.
Yes.
And I couldn't find anywhere in the UK to do the training. And because I moved to the UK with my daughter, I couldn't just leave her and go to India to train. So I thought, do you know what? I can do this. Read all the books, watched all the DVDs, and got the advice from Madan Kataria himself, and my friend Jan connected us, and so on. And I thought, I can do this. Easy peasy.
Well, you did.
I did, yeah. In fact, I started really, really slowly with combining the laughter with reflexology sessions.
Ooh.
So, at the end of a session where you wrap people up and they have a moment to themselves and so on, and I would sit and just hold the feet for a moment and then say, okay, take a deep breath in and breathe out with a little. So we started really slowly back in 2002, but running the first corporate workshops in 3, and then from there on.
Wow, that's
love it.
Amazing. Yeah, and you're still laughing. I love that. Because we met in 2014. That was it's a long while ago, but it was a wonderful group, and I think laughter really transforms life genuinely, and the training also certainly transformed mine. And it's one of those things that it's not tangible. You really have to have the experience of it, don't you?
Yeah, I think it's one of these things we think we do a lot of, but when we really consider how much we laugh on a day-to-day basis, it's often so brief, as we also talk about in the training, but it is that little. And then move on to talk again. But the laughter we experience in a laughter session is like just this really long laughter where you give yourself permission to laugh deep from your belly which is also one of the things that people are like, wasn't that a little bit over the top? And so, but we can do it, and we give ourselves permission, and we should always do that.
Yes.
Because with that comes a lot of growth, a lot of emotional well-being with it, where
and healing.
Yes, absolutely. And those decisions we make, some of the decisions we made as children, where we decide, okay, I'm not going to be too loud because then I'm going to be told off, and so on.
Yes.
So we bring those decisions with us into adult life, and it limits us in how we perceive life and how we can grow from it.
Truly, we get probably too self-conscious. Start sort of puberty and all that, and
and that whole I'm so with you on the self-consciousness, and the just our self-expression is becoming tight and not unraveling
Not
like it does when
expressive.
we do laughter yoga.
That's true. So laughter yoga was started in Mumbai in 1995. Is that correct? Yes.
Yeah. We celebrated 30 years this
Oh my
year.
God, it's 30 years. Happy birthday, laughter
happy
yoga.
birthday, laughter yoga.
And it was sort of set up by Dr. Madan Kataria and his wife Madhuri Kataria. I think he was a medical doctor. He is a medical doctor, and his wife was a yoga teacher then. And I think the story goes that they started it in park in Mumbai with like 4 people or 5 people, and it just spread like a seed. Literally, like now there are like thousands of clubs around the world. There are in over 70 countries.
Today it's actually
give me
120
okay,
countries.
update.
Over 120 countries.
Over 120 countries.
I don't know what they are, but
it's the world. It's taking over.
It is,
Isn't that amazing?
I think it's fantastic.
It is incredible. And obviously his research was, him being a medical doctor, he really did all the research in terms of, you know, how it changes your breathing pattern, your heart rate, your healing abilities, all those things, oxygen levels and so forth. So I think there is a lot of obviously beauty and healing and spirituality to laughter, but there is also science background, isn't it?
Yeah, and this is where I find it so fantastic that we have the medical and the scientific studies behind it, because it's not just us going in and saying, oh, you should laugh because I say so. Everybody says so, and everybody feels it. And the old saying laughter is the best medicine is still counting,
valid.
isn't it? Yeah. And but it is so much easier when we're going out sharing laughter that we can say, well, actually, we got studies showing that is good for lowering stress, because we're introducing the endorphins that counterbalance cortisol, for example, going into a little bit detail here. And it's great for people who have any sort of infections, because your immune system really get a boost to counter or to fight these illnesses. And whether it's infections or viruses or things like cancer and other conditions that are maybe a little bit more serious, although any condition is serious. We're just different people dealing with it, aren't we? So it's amazing to have all this background to support us. I love that.
I love that too. There is a study about the inflammation, I think. It sort of lowers inflammation, pain relief.
Yes,
because endorphins, obviously, you know, you can't track pain. I love the study about the oxygen as well, because, you know, because laughter yoga has combined exercise, laughter exercise with pranayama, which is a breathing yogic exercise. You really letting the sort of carbon dioxide that's been stored in your body, you're really releasing it. That's been deeper into your cells. So, you know, that's a deep cleansing in itself.
It is.
There's so much study behind, and also from the experience I've had with you in training, so much healing that people crying at the end of the session. I mean, not crying because they're unhappy, but they're laughing so much it turns into a cry that's a release of whatever there is stored in the body, perhaps. Have you got any take on that? And
I definitely do.
Tell me more.
The thing about it is, you're absolutely right about the oxygen levels, because we are very good at, in this day and age, being stressful and stressing about and so on. And when we are stressing, we breathe from the top of our lungs. So it means that we have 2/3 of our lungs full of old air, which include carbon dioxide and toxins and yuck stuff that circulates with the blood. So we want to get rid of that and fill up with fresh air so we can circulate that and feel refreshed. And it works. I guarantee you it works. People, I mean, this is one of the things I experienced when I started laughing every day. And I found that dip, you know, sometimes you have after lunch, it's called the graveyard shift, isn't it? And that I didn't have it anymore. And one of the things about when you eat is that your first priority in your body is the digestion. The body needs to digest what you've taken in. And that means that the fresh blood you just, or the fresh air you just inhale, it circulates first and foremost to the digestion, the stomach, and then the rest of the air in your lungs, the old air, circulates to the rest of the vital organs, including your brain and your heart and so on. So when you're feeding your brain all this sluggish air, no wonder you feel a little bit, I need a nap. Kind of.
Absolutely, because you don't have enough energy. It's sort of...
No, you're not getting it through the blood, through the oxygen.
To actually support all the cells. And the last one is the brain, as you mentioned. So when you're deep breathing and getting rid of all that old, suddenly you're starting circulating fresh air with the blood. And I tell you what, it works wonders. I don't remember last time I'd had lunch and I felt like, that's great.
So you just feel refreshed, you really do. And back to your question of...
The question was about like a healing.
Yes,
when
healing.
People get like they go from the laughing into like a crying, and it's a sort of a emotional perhaps healing, maybe some trauma release, if perhaps, I'm not sure, but being a healer myself, I would imagine that those things get released at the time.
So back to that question of the healing that takes place, it's very profound when you're laughing, because you are... you're not just doing on a physical level where, we can all do that, but you're giving yourself permission to connect in with something that's a little bit deeper, that playful side of you that we sometimes forget when we grow up. And because we've forgotten it, remembering it suddenly through the process of laughing may start releasing stored up trauma, stored up experiences that we've pushed away and stored up in these little pockets in the back of our mind. And it means that sometimes we need to cry before we laugh, or laugh before we cry. So it's a continuum, and not just the opposite that happens. It's a continuum, and often what happens is people start laughing and suddenly find themselves
right.
And then suddenly on the other side of the tears is more laughter. And that's really what can happen. But the key thing is to let people cry. It really is important, because if you stop them from crying, we do that little no thing when people cry, and we we do that when laid in that circle at the end of a session where people laugh and cry, and so people tend to sneak their hand over and say no, they don't say it, but
they want to comfort,
but it's not because I don't care about that, because I care deeply, but they have to be given the permission to experience what comes up. If you stop them from crying, they have to go and cry somewhere else, and chances are they're not going to do that.
So it's not get really released.
And laughter is a great release on every level. On your soul level, you're connecting in deep with something, and it's such a high frequency that connects us with everything we are.
That's true. It's I genuinely remember from the training that I felt like I was really connected to my soul. Genuinely, it's a deep connection, and it's an opportunity for a healing, for sure.
Absolutely. Get into the for the lack of a better, this is a great expression from my friend and colleague Mel, who says we're connecting to the truth of who we truly are.
Right.
I love that.
It's very
so
true, isn't it? It's very,
and the truth is so different for all of us.
Yes, The thing is, we were talking about when we sometimes not laughing, and then the laughing is really important to bring to the world. Shall we touch on that? Were you always laughing? Were you always laughing, Lotte?
It's interesting you asked that question. I probably was a lot. And I remember, in fact, I'll get back to when I wasn't. But I remember, when you were in a good class in school, and I enjoyed it, and I had a really good class in school. And when we'd been, this is like, just giving away my age.
That's okay.
Years ago, we had our first where we got together, and I think it was our 25th or 30th anniversary or so, probably 25th of leaving school. and we met, and I remember we were doing this. This was the first time we met. We were about 12, 14 people, including two of my favorite teachers. And I remember we did this roundup. So what are you doing now? And I was talking about when it was my turn, I said, oh, I teach people to laugh. And it just went completely, silent. I was like, oh, did they think I'm comedian? Because I wasn't. In school, I wasn't, definitely not. And then one of my friends said, of course you do. And I was like, what? Yeah, you used to always laugh. You always had smiles for everybody. Gosh. I was like, what? Because I forgot.
You forgot.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah. I know there was a lot of laughter.
We do forget, though, don't we?
Yeah, but not to that extent.
Kids. Yeah, we do forget. Yeah.
So even as a teenager, who would have known? But then, of course, life gets serious. You get into having your career, you have your family, and breakups and breakdowns and all sorts of things. So life gets serious, and I think having a child, I think there was a lot of laughter, or there is a lot of laughter still. Now she's an adult. But there is a lot of laughter, but there's also a lot of seriousness being a mum.
Yes.
And to embrace that it's okay to relax once in a while, I think that's one of the key points to give to new mums or old mums or fresh mums or
motherhood in general, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, because that's where I felt when I'm looking back that I just felt like I became a little bit serious there.
Yeah, because I think we get drained, we get tired, depressed, you know, it's all part of motherhood, isn't it? It's a bit of a contradiction, motherhood, isn't it?
Definitely. It doesn't mean you don't love your children and you don't love being a mum or anything, but there are so many challenges, especially if you're in a relationship, maybe you're not in a relationship, maybe you have a job, maybe you don't have a job, and all of this can add to the stresses and so on. And then if you do have a job and need someone to care for your child or look after them when they come back from school or so, gosh,
it's a lot to juggle. Suddenly become a mother, it's a huge learning curve, isn't it?
It is, and it's such a blessing.
No, it is.
You know, I know not everybody feel it, but it really is. I mean, it's one of the most beautiful things. Absolutely.
And we can learn a lot from children about laughter, don't we?
Interesting enough, this is where laughter yoga comes in, because children, they play and laughter follows. But when we grow up, we forget to be playful. So we have to relearn how to laugh and become more playful, don't we?
Yes, because I remember reading about the laughter with the children. They just, they don't condition it. They don't think about it. It's just spontaneous.
Yeah,
whilst with the grown-ups, we start to condition and question and have lots of blockages towards laughter for whatever reasons.
Yeah, and then we have to be supported by comedy or making joke of people or things and so on, so it becomes hurtful. And this is where the laughter yoga practice is so beautiful and wonderful, because of not relying on these things. We just tune into the because I experienced laughter at that point in time in 2000 in January. It's super cold, but there was so much laughter, and I thought, this is for me. But life changes, life happens and things change, and I started doing this, but I was only doing laughter whenever I run the corporate workshops or ran the monthly laughter club and so on. That was when I was doing the laughter yoga. And then in 2008, when it got really serious, at least for a couple of weeks, I was diagnosed with MS, and I had a couple of weeks where I almost cried solidly whenever I thought about it, because it brought me back to 91 when my sister died with MS, and I thought the shock of me having MS and potentially facing the same future or lack of future was just really overwhelming. So I was looking for ways to, how can I deal with this? How can I combat it? And one of the things I knew about laughter was that when you're laughing and you're reducing stress, that's one of the key elements of laughter and practicing laughter yoga. And when you're reducing stress, you're less likely to experience the relapses that you get in MS, where your body deteriorates and you experience worsening of your health.
Yes.
So I thought, okay, need to laugh every day. But it took some time, and I asked people what happens, because I was worried that if I started laughing, would it worsen it or what? So I asked MS Society, I asked Madame Kataria, never really got any feedback on my questions on that. So I thought, okay, let's just start laughing. So connecting in with people in Australia who were running telephone laughter clubs every day, I thought, okay, this is something I can do. I needed a structure for it. You know, when you have ideas of, I'm going to do this every day, your New Year resolutions and so on. And I didn't want to fall into that trap of you do it for a couple of weeks and then you slowly come off it. Yeah. So I wanted a structure for me to practice laughter yoga every day. And that's why I set up the Telephone Laughter Club, with a bit of input from people in Australia and people in the US and so on. And laughing every morning at 7 o'clock for 10 minutes.
Oh, so you would all get on a call?
So, yes.
Is that really true? Is that really how it works?
Yeah, so it's a conference call, and it still runs 7 o'clock to 10 past 7.
Wow.
And it's one of the things that's just setting you up in such a brilliant way for the day, because you're letting go of last night's thoughts and the morning's recap on last night's thoughts and what you need to be doing and so on. You're resetting, and that's what's so amazing about this whole practice, that you're getting ready for the day and you're removing all the stress and so on. You should do it before going to bed as well, because you can't think when you're laughing. I mean,
and you release whatever is sort of through the day happened, didn't you? So it sets you for the day. So it's like a cleansing, isn't it?
It is,
nice cleansing exercise, and like kind of a reviving as well.
Yes, the big reset. And so we're going into the day with a clear mind, clear slate, because a lot of people go to bed thinking about what they need to do tomorrow. Yeah, I'm guilty of that as well. Yeah,
then you can't sleep, and that's no one is. We're human. We're human.
Absolutely. And the thing is, when you go to bed, like you say, you don't get the optimal sleep. Yeah, because your subconscious mind is busy working on those thoughts. Yeah, so when you should be healing your body during the sleep and renewing, refreshing, and so on, it doesn't fully function that way.
Right, that's right.
So starting with getting rid of all that and any negativity, because sometimes some of the recap for tomorrow is also like, oh, of course, am I really going to do this? That's right. So removing all of that and getting ready. So and then maybe a little bit of gratitude in there as well.
Sure. I mean, so that 10 minutes that you had that call, a laughter call, you call it?
Yeah, a conference call.
Sorry, conference call. So that's perfect, because it's only 10 minutes, and also it keeps you strongly in the practice, because you're all, kind of helping each other to stay on every day. Yeah. So that's fantastic, because you can't follow the routine that way if you have support group, because I think we need support group when we want to start a new habit, don't we? So that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah. And the thing about it is, even when I dial in, and some mornings there are no people there, and I just do the 10 minutes of laughter by myself.
Pretending someone's there.
Just in case someone shows up.
You never know. They just overslept.
And it's okay too, it's just sticking with the practice, because I know the difference it makes. And this is the thing, you can start, you can go on laughter training and you can learn and so on, but unless you take it into practice and bring it into life, you're not guaranteed to have those benefits. Absolutely. But there are so many benefits. You mentioned some of them.
How it helped you on your MS journey? Did you feel the difference, or did you?
Well, the thing is, because with MS, the relapses and so on, your body starts slowly reacting to it. So I feel I avoided relapses since 2008, and once I went back to have a second scan, and it was because I'd been going through some very stressful parts of my life, in 2000, and that was 10 years later, actually 18. So I went for another scan, and they said to me, we need to put you on medication now, because it looks like your brain is deteriorating. I was like, do you have the pictures from the first scan? And said, no, we don't. How can you know it's any different?
Yeah.
So I went out and I said, went out of there saying, I don't really need medication yet. Thank you very much. And still don't mind medication for dealing with what I'm facing is laughter.
Yeah. Wow.
And it doesn't mean, I don't know. I mean, I move about, I do everything and you know, I don't touch wood. I'm counting my blessings every day. Yeah, because it can very quickly change. I don't know what the signs and symptoms are supposed to be like in MS. I know how it was for my sister. None of that is present for me.
Amazing.
So I hope that with the laughter, this really prevents it or slows it down at least.
For sure.
Yeah,
so you don't have any symptoms, would you say, of MS?
No.
Amazing. Amazing. What a story. I love that.
Yeah, and this is the thing, you know, where I just hope to inspire some people in taking it on.
Yes.
They're not just doing it for a week or 2 weeks or a month or so. Continue doing it because the long-term effect of it.
That's it. Yeah, it should become more of a lifestyle thing rather than become part of your life. It only takes 10 minutes. It is important that it actually does take 10 minutes, so it's not just a one giggle. That's also the background, isn't it? In terms
minimum
of
10 to 15 minutes. Yeah.
That's it, because you need that prolonged laughter to have the effect of the endorphins starting to be produced and so forth.
Yeah, your whole body started to respond to it and so on. And the thing is, it's not just about the endorphins, it's a whole cocktail of chemicals that we need to support our mental and emotional health and well-being, as well as physically. Because you release endorphins, which is a well-known happy chemical, but also the other thing is you encourage the production of dopamine, which is our reward chemical that helps us strive and do things better and so on. And of course you have oxytocin, which is our love hormone.
Yes.
That's often known from hugging or breastfeeding and so on. But we increase the production when we're laughing. And of course serotonin, which is our natural antidepressant, which is often where during winter, we know about SAD, seasonal affective disorder, which is what some people experiencing during the dark month.
Yeah.
And let's face it, in this country.
Oh, yes.
In many countries.
We're in England, guys, so this is certainly needed. I was just thinking it would be great in like labour wards.
I know.
To get increased oxytocin for pain relief.
Yeah. And you know what? This is what they do anyway. They have the laughter gas.
Oh, they do, of course.
I can't remember the correct term for it.
I don't know the name. They just, that'd be fantastic.
But it is really, because it does reduce that pain level. I've worked with pain management clinics in particular, I remember over the pandemic where I did some online session with pain clinics and so on. And it's amazing, you know, you talked about pain management early on in our conversation, and it's one of the things where there's so much to gain from this, because natural painkiller, endorphins, natural painkiller are self-made morphine, so to speak. Yeah. So why people don't do it?
Yes, it's a lot of
again, it's back to that thing about people think they laugh enough, when actually we can always do with a little more, can't we? Just like chocolate.
That's right. Oh yeah, I would advocate for that for sure any day.